Uh, Today is Monday, March the 8th, and I'm Peter Allen, Councillor for District 9, the Municipality of Kings. And today, this is a public information meeting regarding a planning application for Luckett's Vineyard. And I'd like to mention up to this point, no decisions have been made concerning this application. And today, we have present Will Robinson Muscat, who is a planner with the Municipality of Kings, and Phil Dennis, who is a representative for the applicant, Luckett's Vineyard. And both will be doing a presentation, and at the end of those presentations, an opportunity will be given for comments and questions. And would you please, when calling or submitting a question, give your name and civic address? And so, Will, if you want to start with your presentation, you may start at this point.
Certainly. Bear with me as I share the screen. All right. So this is a public information meeting concerning an application submitted by Phil Dennis, the applicant on behalf of the property owner, Luckett's Vineyard in Wallbrook, civic address 1293 Grand Prairie Road. That's a planning application to amend an existing development agreement. So the purpose of the meeting is as follows. The purpose of a public information meeting is to inform the public of the application at hand, to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur and for council to consider, and to receive preliminary feedback from members of the public. Please note that no opinions have been formed on this application and no decisions will be made based on the public information meeting. What is a development agreement? A development agreement is a legal contract between council and the property owner. It restricts the developer to the use or types of uses outlined in the development agreement. It allows council to exercise more specific control over not only the type of use or uses, but over the character, form, and maintenance of the development. And it runs with the land. That is, the conditions do not cease if the land changes ownership. So the background on the proposal to the application. The original development agreement for Luckett's Vineyard was approved by Municipal Council in 2010. It permitted wine processing, retail sales, a full-service restaurant, special outdoor events, tourist lodging, and a winery cafe accessory to the retail use. This application is to alter the full-service restaurant use to enclose the seating area, add an outdoor wine bar, and increase the on-site wine processing and storage. This is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings. You'll note a red circle on the screen in the eastern portion of the county, and that's the approximate location of the subject property in the community of Wallbrook. This is an aerial photograph of the subject property. You'll see it highlighted in red with frontage along the Grand Prairie Road extending up from the Gaspereau River Road. This is a closer image of the, or more zoomed in image of the subject property. So you'll note that subject property extends west from the Grand Prairie Road. Much of the property to the east has been cleared of vegetation and is used for the growing of grapes for processing into wine. While the portion of the property kind of to the west remains forested. There is a tree buffer that intersects through the subject property. And in the, what would be the southeast corner, so kind of the lower right-hand corner of the aerial photograph, you'll note the building where the restaurant and parking is contained as well. This is where the majority of the uses covered by the development agreement occur on the subject property. This is a zoning map of the subject property in the surrounding area. So the subject property and all the properties adjacent to it and certainly within the near vicinity are all zoned A2, which is the rural mixed use zone, which is a zone that contemplates a mixture of permitted uses in a rural setting, so agricultural, forestry, residential uses in a low density environment. You'll note that closer to the Gasborough River Road, so in the north direction, there are a number of properties that are zoned agricultural or A1. So those are properties that are really intended for primarily for agricultural use. And closer to the Gasborough River is the O1 or environmental constraint zone. So this is the zone that's right on the banks of the Gasborough River. This is a future land use map of the subject property and surrounding area. And the subject property and all the other properties on this map are in fact designated agricultural. This is a photograph of the subject property, the restaurant on site. So you'll note to the left-hand side is the retail section enclosed within the building, and this would be kind of looking towards that space used for the restaurant use in the summer. This is again a photo of that particular portion of the subject property that's used for the restaurant use. So you'll note under the snow cover, this photo was taken in late February. You can see the wooden decking, and this would be the area that currently is tented in the summer for the restaurant use and would be proposed to be enclosed to extend the restaurant's operating season. You know, the view of the valley floor looking towards the Gasborough River there. This is a photograph looking in the what would be the southwest direction. This would be the approximate location of where the wine bar would be proposed for. So this would be for wine consumption for guests essentially waiting for their tables at a restaurant or enjoying a glass of wine when finishing a tour or a retail visit to the vineyard. The parking lot, as you'll note, there is just to the background, in the back kind of left corner. This is a photograph of kind of roughly the same direction, just taken a little bit closer to the parking area. So you'll note the parking area is kind of delineated where that line of trees ends, and the parking would begin. This is a photograph of taken in the parking area looking directly east. So you'll note the restaurant and retail service component on the left-hand side of that photograph, looking towards the vehicular entrance. You'll note the lights in there for the parking. This is a photograph of the area where the wine processing would be proposed, wine processing and storage, kind of looking directly west, so just at the edge of the parking lot. And finally, this is an aerial photograph of the portion of the property that's really used for the main uses, taken during the non-winter months. So you'll note that there is a defined parking area with directional arrows for traffic. You'll see the tents extending on either side of the building. Those would again be the areas that would be proposed to be enclosed for the restaurant use, and just kind of at the what would be the western end here would be the expanded area for wine processing on site. And you'll note the entrance for vehicles extending off Grand Pré Road, entering into the subject property. With regards to the policies that enable council to consider this application, Bylaw 105, the Municipal Planning Strategy, Policy 2.5.13 states, consider only by development agreement within the agricultural, resource, and shoreland designations, proposals for visitor-oriented development not permitted as of right. And in evaluating development agreements, council shall be satisfied that the proposal is oriented to visitors and the traveling public, lodgings, restaurants, event venues, etc. That the proposal has a lot area that can appropriately accommodate the proposed use or uses, accessory uses, parking, structures, etc. that there's adequate buffering and or separation from surrounding residential uses. Point D is not applicable as it is only for the shoreland designation, and this property falls within the agricultural designation. E, if the use is a permitted use, the conditions that prevent the as-of-right development are addressed in the development agreement itself. And finally, F, the proposal meets the general development agreement criteria outlined in section 5.3 of the MPS. So these are the criteria upon which all planning applications are evaluated. And those are keeping with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. So in other words, the goals and objectives of the municipal planning strategy are being met through the development agreement. That it is not in conflict with municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. That there's no undue negative financial impact on the municipality as a result of the development agreement. That the uses proposed or enabled through the agreement are compatible with surrounding land uses. That when applicable, there are adequate institutional and community facilities within a reasonable proximity to the subject property. That traffic considerations are addressed, such as the road network, traffic generation, and congestion. That there's adequate fire protection and services and equipment for the proposed uses. That there's adequate water and sewer services or on-site sewer service or on-site servicing for the proposed uses. That there's no undue potential for creating flooding or drainage issues. That there's no undue potential for negative impacts on well fields or groundwater sources. That there's no undue chance of soil erosion or siltation of watercourses as a result of the proposed uses. That when applicable, there's no negative impacts on lake water quality. That when applicable, there's no negative impacts on farming operations in the surrounding area. And that finally, the physical characteristics of the site, such as the grade, topography, soil, etc., are suitable for the proposed uses. With regard to the development agreement process and timeline, in this instance, a complete application has been received by the municipality, and we're at the early stage of the process with the virtual public information meeting. This video will be available for 30 days on the municipality's website. Notification of the development agreement application will be provided to properties within 500 feet via letter mail, and a notice will be placed within the local newspaper as well. Upon completion of the virtual public information meeting, staff will do a review, so evaluating the proposal against the criteria specific to policy 2.5.13 and as well the general criteria, and draft a report on the application. This report will go to the Planning Advisory Committee for review and recommendation on the proposal, following which the application will go to Municipal Council for initial consideration, and a public hearing will be scheduled. The public hearing will occur, and again, properties within 500 feet will be notified via letter mail of the public hearing, and notice of the public hearing will be placed in the local newspaper. Upon completion of the public hearing, the application goes for final consideration to council, where council makes a vote to approve or deny the application. And finally, excuse me, there's a 14-day appeal period of council's decision to the UARB as mandated by the Municipal Government Act. With that, I will put my contact information. I can be reached via phone or email for members of the public who have questions or comments pertaining to this application. I understand the applicant has some information they would like to share, so I will stop sharing the screen and we can share that, and I can put this information, or excuse me, I can put this slide up at the end just to make sure that members of the public have the chance to get this information.
Okay, thank you, Will. And Phil, when you're ready, you may start.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just as a little bit of extra information, I wanted to show you what our concept is with regards to converting the current temporary space used for restaurant to permanent restaurant space. And I'll share my screen. So this is the current setup outside of the retail space, the main building at the winery. You can see that there are two tent structures. The tents have reached the end of their lives, and the intention is to replace them with a more permanent structure that can be will provide shelter not only by a roof but also by having sliding doors or glass that would protect the clientele while dining, and specifically through a little bit of the shoulder seasons. So that is the basic concept, and this is the primary intention of the proposal to amend the development agreement. And I just wanted to stress that this is to amend the existing, and the intention here is not to increase capacity, but to maintain capacity. I'll also show one other image here that is just referring to essentially what Will has already alluded to. And it's just showing the main winery building. In red is where the tent structures are proposed to be replaced with a permanent structure for the restaurant. And we've got two larger buildings for processing and an extension to the parking lot in the rear. And there are two areas that we are considering for a wine tasting, cup of wine waiting area for the restaurant. And that is all I'd like to add.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What I will do now is again place the questions and comments slide and contact information up on the video, and again reiterate that for members of the public who wish to pose any questions or make comments on this application, and as it's in its preliminary stages, do feel free to contact me via telephone at 902-690-6173 or via email at wrobinson-mushkat, M-U-S-H-K-A-T, at countyofkings.ca. And again, the video will be posted to our active planning applications webpage for 30 days. Councillor Allen, I believe you're muted.
Oh, sorry. So that concludes the presentations. And I would just like to thank everyone that's present today and for their time and effort, and nice meeting you. So that concludes the meeting for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Allen, and thank you very much, Will. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's the end.